Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of BRP TV, we would like to welcome you back into the winter, the end of 2025, with a new series on the BRP TV channel. This is the Southern Tier Elite Series and their first race of the season. It is a pleasure to be back on the mics with you and with my co-host for this season of broadcasting, a good friend of mine, Mr. Jonathan Howe. Jonathan, welcome back. Welcome to Volusia. Welcome to the Southern Tier Elite Series. We are set for 8 races to go through this season, but hey, it's nice to see you, my friend.
Yeah, you know what? It's really good to do this again. It's kind of become a highlight of the off-season for me. You know, I just wrapped up racing season with a little awards banquet about a week or so ago, and then immediately get to jump back into the virtual world and still listen to some modifieds rip around the old dirt track. So I'm pretty happy to be back, Joe. And honestly, 8 race schedule, I'm looking over it. There are some absolute bangers that have been selected for our season this year.
Yeah, definitely this schedule of these 10 events here for these guys. I'm sorry, I actually messed up. It's not 8, it's 10 because I got the two lanes of 4 and then the 2 extras. But these races are going to be some of the highlights for me as well. Like, I think through our experience with the Murder Graphics iRacing Series and the BRP iRacing Series in the past, I look at Port Royal. I'm a little biased. I'm out of Pennsylvania, but I love the way that we race at that track. Knoxville is always a fun time. I enjoyed Oswego last year when we did that race as well, Jonathan, and I know that's a very important race for a lot of the people in this series because it's right in the heart of modified country and a home race for so many of these guys, but like Weedsport too is in there. Lucas Oil was a fantastic, arguably one of the best tracks that we've seen in the past for races, and I like the lengths of all these races too. It's definitely enough time to have a really good developed modified race.
Yeah, that was another thing that I liked too, but I was looking at that schedule, and it's like, I kind of focused on the end, right? I was like, okay, let's look ahead at like how is this going to shape up championship-wise? What are some of the big what are some of the big tracks that we're going to hit coming down towards the end of the championship? And I mean, I kept going back further and further, right? It's like, okay, Oswego, great. Then you got Charlotte. Okay, great. Weedsport, for me, that's a great one, local one for me, being in Southern Ontario and close to Western New York. Eldora, Lernerville. I just kept going up and up, and I was like, there's no track that I'm not looking forward to seeing these guys race on, especially with some new faces for us and also some heavy hitters that we've had the chance to call over the last several seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned those names, and one of them at the top right now, Cody Harris. We're watching along with dirt car Dean Reynolds going around the track right now. Those are some names that Jonathan and I, as well as guys like Anthony Roselli, who is running the show for us out of the race control and the series ownership side, we've seen those names, Mike Brewer, Scott Rayom. They were part of the Murder Graphics iRacing Series last year. And then you've got new names on the list, Matt Smith, Bo Kerbo, Edward Owens. There's a bunch of names in here that, like, for maybe Jonathan, I don't know how much exposure you've had to some of these names. For myself, there's definitely a long list of new guys to get used to, and especially to make sure we know how to pronounce their names correctly.
Yeah, that's always my big thing when I'm doing a race is thinking about, okay, how am I saying this one? And of course, being up here in Southern Ontario, every once in a while we get like a French driver come down, and it's like, oh, I got to go full Quebecois with their name, and then you realize, nope, actually it's pronounced as English as you possibly could think it would be, and it's like that. I can't win, but so far it looks like everything's a little bit easier on the pronunciation side of things for us. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys, getting to know new drivers is really fun because they kind of come out of nowhere maybe to us, but then you talk to. There's so many times that we would have a top 3 interview after a race, Joe, and be like, oh, what did you think of this driver's performance? And then all of a sudden the guy's like, well, I race him in this other league, and I know he's fast. And it's like, okay, well. Now we know that the drivers expect this person to be fast, but maybe we as broadcasters are a little bit surprised. It doesn't take long for us to learn who's going to be the favorite. And there's some heavy hitters. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. And qualifying's just getting ready to go. So what are we thinking? I feel like I'm going to go with Dirt Car Dean to get to the top spot. That might be a bit of a crazy pick, but what do you?
What do I think? We mentioned that there's names on this list that we're familiar with, and then there's some that we aren't. And when I look at the names that I'm familiar with, I got to look at the Roselli brothers. I definitely like the looks of Dean Reynolds. I know he's actually talked with me in the past about his Sunday night leagues going a little bit better than what we've previously broadcasted, but then you've got the whole other curveball of all of these names that we've never personally broadcasted before. These names that are people we could be seeing at the top of the leaderboard, like Austin Smith and Matthew Schultz, now running up 1-2, and Matt Smith third. Like, we've definitely got some, we've got to be clear that we're not 100% sure when we say who we expect at the top. But Scott Rayom just put it up. We just watched him do his qualifying run. These guys have 5 minutes to put up 2 laps, and the fastest of the 2 is what will count. And there are 28 drivers in here ready to go for the race tonight. So we've got 28 of them to put up, and then we're going to have 3 heat races to go through this evening before we get into our feature race tonight here at what we have called the Croc Nationals. That's what the name of the race is tonight, Mr. Howe.
And Anthony Vitale jumps right to the top of the chart here. And 16.8, I think, is going to be pretty tough to beat based on some of the speeds we're seeing already. But there goes D. Rose right up to P2 with a 16.836. Oh, and now Finley jumps to the top. So 16.8 is where you're going to want to be if you want to be on the pole for a heat race. And we'll see. Not too many drivers left to take a time here.
There's not a ton. There's a couple left. This is Isaac Salas in the 5 car. That's a really old school, cool looking design on the number 5. This is our first introduction to Isaac. You saw the number 60 car go out onto a lap. He's P7. Anthony Roselli just puts his first lap time up, goes P6. And Salas coming around goes to the top side of turn 4 and comes across the line. And he is going to jump to first. Oh, my goodness. Wow. It's the luck of the broadcast tonight so far. Everybody we've been watching goes up to the top side. I wonder if that's going to stick up.
16.6, too.
Yeah,
that's a lot of speed to pick up.
Yeah. But honestly, Jonathan, we haven't even talked about the racetrack yet.
No, we have not. Volusia is a fun spot to race. And I feel like in the past we've seen this track offer some great racing. And you know what? It also seems to get a little bit tighter than you think it would. There's lots of room in these corners to spread out, but I feel like this is a track that we're going to see multiple grooves, multiple lines, and then eventually it's going to narrow into just one fast spot, and everybody is going to be struggling to hit it.
Yeah, that's kind of conventional for what we've maybe seen with past experiences of the BRP and Murder Graphics iRacing series. Dylan Smith just put up his second lap time, goes P6 on the board. That's a name I'm watching tonight. We saw him kind of take the curve upwards over the end of last season with the Murder Graphics iRacing series. He is definitely one guy that I'm watching because he just consistently got better and better and better. And based off of where we ended off last year, I mean, we could see him in victory lane by the end of this season for sure. But that's the whole 28-car field. We've got them all in, Jonathan.
And wild to see that everybody was able to take a time. And I was kind of thinking we were going to have a pretty wide margin with that 16.6, but then a couple of those other drivers really broke into the 16-second category. And then all of a sudden, what is it? I think the top 15 are all sub 17 seconds, right? So there is a lot of pace out there. Our boy Matt DeRitter, though, tough showing down there at the bottom of the standings. We'll have to see if he can find some speed come race time. Joe, what do you expect from this facility tonight? And I guess where are you in the fast lane to be?
It's going to develop over the course of the night. I think the bottom side always at Volusia is a good idea. You got to work the track through. Like, if the bottom gets used up, the top's going to be better for a bit. But overall, I'm saying the bottom's going to be the place to go. I think this racetrack, it looks like we haven't reset it to like a new track state to move over into the heats. I'm sure they're going to back it up a little bit when we get into the feature. I'm not sure how that's going to lay out like over the course of the night, because within iRacing, you can go back and set the game to simulate the racetrack at different like use states. So I did not ask Anthony Roselli before this race where they're going to put that at the beginning of the feature. It might make it a very dynamic situation to see through those laps of the feature race itself. But if it doesn't reset, or it doesn't reset back too far, we might use it up here in the heat races. That's something we'll we'll have to wait and see what happens. But nonetheless, the first of the 3 heat races for the evening is out onto the racetrack. This will be a 8-lap heat race, and your fast timer, Isaac Salas, will go from the pole. I'll run through the top 10, the 10 drivers who will start this first heat race. Brendan Finley in the J7 will go to his outside, and then inside row number 2, white with the purple numbers, is Anthony Roselli himself in car number 7. On his outside, Bo Kerbo in car 05. Then you look back to row number 3 on the inside. You got the 406 of Richard Ritchie and Brian Lawson in the slick number 57 to his outside. Austin Smith scored as the 14 car, running the number 3 on the inside of row number 4 to Matt Smith, car number 31 here in white and blue. And then the last row on the grid, it's got Jesse Hedges on the inside in the 33, and the white and almost not white Edward Owens driven number 71 car. So 10 drivers, 8 laps, heat race number 1. Jonathan, we are ready to start racing. The Elite Tour is green.
Southern Tier Elite Series first heat race of the season. Everybody tips toes through turns 1 and 2. Very clean. Battle shaping up for the lead. Looks like the opening lap will go to the pole sitter in that retro look, though. That 5 car looks pretty slick for Isaac Salas. Now, Anthony Roselli, he's moving up, trying to test that middle to high groove. See if you can find some pace in there early, and it looks like a couple drivers throughout the mid-pack are also following up to the high side of the track.
Yep, there looks like a lot of guys going up at the top, especially sort of in the mid-pack here. We'll jump back. We're watching Bo Kerbo right there, the blue car right in front of Richard Ritchie, the 406, and then you've got Lawson a little bit further back there behind as well. Isaac Salas still holding out at the front, and yeah, it seems like the further back you go, the more upwards they're going to go onto the racetrack. And I wonder, Jonathan, if is that by design or is that like by force? Like, are they just trying to stay out of the tire tracks, or are they searching, or what could be the strategy there?
Well, when you're at the back of the pack, you got to find something that's going to get you towards the front, especially in a heat race, right? So for these guys, I'm sure it's just a matter of figuring out where can I find some pace and where can I advance through this field better, and maybe where can I get away from some of these other race cars to make a pass, as you see a move to the inside there through those corners and down the back straightaway.
Yep, and it looks like we're kind of single filed out in the middle, but a few moves throughout the field as 2 to go. Chalk sticks up for Isaac Salas. Anthony Roselli still in tow there behind him. Roselli, if I remember correctly, Anthony Roselli didn't have the worst, definitely not the best, experience with this racetrack in the past races that we've broadcasted here on BRP TV. So as they come to the 1 to go, Anthony Roselli definitely, that's a big gap to make up, but he's shown he's at least got things started the right direction for this season.
He's in the ballpark, and that's all you can really ask for when you're in this very first race. But Salas has been clean and green at the front and untouchable, as he will take the checkered flag ahead of Roselli. Finley brings it home, P3 to complete the podium in that first heat race. Joe, kind of a bit of a tough passing's at a premium for sure. If you're towards the back of the pack, you are going to want to get on it early and see if you can get up through the grid from your poor starting spot if you can.
If you can, and you need to give it a shot. So your first heat race winner, sponsored by HigFab Chassis. HigFab Chassis is going to be the presenting sponsor of the heat race winners. Isaac Salas goes from the front all the way to the finish in first. He will get the first of them, and we will bring out the next 9 drivers who will show you heat race number 2. This evening, we will start on the inside of row number 1 with your pole sitter of this crew, Gary Edwards III in car number 21. We'll roll off now to the outside of him in the 1X. That car is giving me some vibes of the Randy Wade Racing number 1X that we have here for 410 Sprint Car Racing in Central Pennsylvania. They actually just officially retired from racing, and that car is now, unfortunately, not a Pennsylvania Posse regular anymore. But anyway, that's Anthony Vitale on the outside of row number 1. D. Rose, Dominic Roselli actually showing as the 80 car. He's going to be scored as the 88 in timing and scoring, the Van Sickle electric machine we're used to seeing from the past. Anthony Perigo, that is a name that even I, as a sprint car guy, recognize, will go from the outside of row number 2 in the second heat race here. Moving back behind them, The black with the white number 4 car, scored as the 04, is Scott Rayom, and he's got Mikey Horton in the 12 on his outside in row number 3. Row number 4 on the inside, Matthew Schultz driving a Reese's-sponsored number 24 machine. That's good for me, born in Hershey, Pennsylvania, just like the Reese's company. Michael Vitale in the 213 to the outside of row number 4, and sitting shotgun all by himself on the last row here, scored as the 4, shown as the 4, is Robbie Worth. In the first broadcast that myself and Jonathan have seen him aside each other. Jonathan, we're coming around turn number 4. I'll hand it over to you, and we'll see what happens in this next set of 8.
Flags up, pedals are down, away we go. Ooh, gets a little tight off that initial start there. Looking at the moves from the bottom side of the racetrack, D Rose trying to move his way through, looking to try to make a pass for second into the first trip through 3 and 4, and it just looks like, oh, that got really close. Roselli was trying to get to the inside of Vitale there and could not make it stick, and now he's under threat as Parego's trying to move forward in that 44 machine.
There goes Anthony through on the inside. That's third place for him. The lead is very strong for Gary Edwards up front. No contention behind him. Kind of looks like Anthony Vitale. I don't want to say he's slower, but that's kind of the holdup here for both lanes. So it's a little bit of a holdup from second on backwards. Robbie Worth got a little bit squirrely there into 3 and 4 the first time through that set of turns, and that gave him a little bit of a gap there. But Gary Edwards up front, no trouble for him. He leads easily. And then here's Anthony Vitale on the inside in car number 1X.
Edwards comfortably out front, so we're watching that battle for second. And there goes Parego clear of Dominic Roselli for the third spot. Roselli tucks back in line. Oh, contact! And the 12 car gets the 80.
Yep.
And I don't think we're going to get a caution out of that, Joe. I think it's going to stay green here. We'll see.
Yep.
As Dominic gets turned back around.
Yep, staying green here. That was Mikey Horton in the 12 car that got into him. Just a little bit hot into the corner, or maybe a little bit slower in for Dominic Roselli than Mikey Horton was expecting. And unfortunately for them, I mean, we got 28 drivers in this grid. We only start 24. That is not a good start at all for Dominic Roselli, and frustration is going to come out for him. And right in front of the leaders, too. They all have to go around him. The green flag stays out due to that, but that is not what Dominic Roselli wanted to do to start this season off. White flag coming out for Gary Edwards up at the front.
No, that's a really, really tough break for D-Rose. I mean, he was running up there in the top 5. Nothing you can do about that. I mean, I would probably expect maybe a penalty after the race for the 12 as well, and that might affect things. We'll see how that plays out. But up at the front, Gary Edwards just completely in control of it, takes the checkered flag, easily winning that one ahead of Vitale. A lot of Anthony's in this series, so we're gonna have a hard time keeping them all straight and figuring out which one's which. It's like Tony, but Anthony.
That's hilarious. Yes, you're right about that. So Gary Edwards, the third, going to be your second HigFab Chassis Heat Race winner of the evening, and we roll over into the third and final heat race where we do not have any Anthony's, which will make it easier for Jonathan and I. But rolling from the front row, as I can get the camera onto car number 39, Mike Brewer. We saw him in the Murder Graphics iRacing Series have a very strong run through that season. Off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly where he ended up in the championship, but it was on the top side. And then he's on the inside of Dylan Smith, who very quickly got the grips of the iRacing platform in the 15S car that you see on the outside of the first row. Cody Higbee, a multi-time winner of the championship for the BRP iRacing Series, Murder Graphics iRacing Series programs that Jonathan and I have been a part of for the last few years. He is always, and especially at Volusia, he's always one to watch to take the win. He is on the inside of Hunter Lapp in car number 60 out there. You can see him kind of getting up into the fluff on this pace lap. And then we go back to row number 3 on the inside, the Dirt Car Series, sponsored number 79, New York's own Dirt Car Dean Reynolds, to the inside of Nicholas. It's either Mole or Molly. I'm going to have to confirm with him after the race. Car number 2 on the outside there. Inside the fourth and final full row is Jeff Sharp, car number 28, longtime competitor in broadcasts that you may have seen on this channel in the past. And to his outside, Cody Harris in car 20 was one of the fastest cars we saw in practice. Rolling shotgun on the field in the final heat race of this night, trying to get out of these consolation positions is the Murder Graphics number 03, originally out of New Jersey, Matt DeRitter. Jonathan, it's all up to you, all up to these drivers for the last 8 laps of this evening.
Here we go in this heat. Slow start there, even start, outside line, noses ahead, just ever so slightly. Ooh, and they all have to kind of back up. That would cost Dean Reynolds. He had to jump on the binders after Higbee had to get out of it and avoid running over your pole sitter here in this one. And looks like we will see the pole sitter hang on and lead lap 1. Brewer now almost 3 wide as Higbee tried to get to the inside of, I believe that's Smith on the down low side of the racetrack right now. And look at this 4-car battle for the front. This one much racier at the front, Joe.
About 4 wide. Yeah, that was a heck of a start because it was also bunched up. We went late. I mean, we really went late into the first corner past the start-finish. But Mike Brewer did hold it down, and he's able to hold the lead off of that. Now, at this point, Hunter Lapp in the 60 car on his outside, putting a little bit of a battle up there, and he's got Cody Higbee down on the inside, looking for a 3-wide move past the start-finish line this time. And Brewer gets caught all the way up at the top, and actually, I was tempted to think Higbee might come out of there, but Lapp really showed that the middle is the place to be, in the middle of the corner. As I say that, Cody Higbee makes me look silly, and he goes up into potentially almost the race lead. He's still there.
Yeah, still battling it out. Lapp has been pretty impressive. He's the one who's maybe had the biggest charge towards the front, kind of also had his momentum kind of gummed up a little bit by Brewer running that top side of the racetrack. Higbee still making hay down low. Kind of feels like the bottom side of the racetrack is starting to come around, Joe, and I'm still not seeing the drive off that is needed from the bottom side to make these passes stick. But you're definitely at least seeing the cars be able to stay side by side, especially when the drivers are running the outside with all that momentum. Usually that's the preferred side, and that's usually what allows you to clear exactly what Brewer did out of 4 that time. We'll see down the back straightaway here. Lapp right in his tire tracks. Higbee still running the bottom side, not giving up.
Yeah, not giving up, which really, it doesn't look like that's worth doing. This is a really good running racetrack right now. White flag comes out. One more time around, Brewer's been controlling this race very well from both sides. He's got Hunter Lapp right in his tire tracks. He's got Cody Higbee down low. Final set of corners. Dylan Smith was in the mix of this. He's going to hold on to 4th place here. But out of the final corner, your 3rd heat race winner of the evening, presented by HigFab Chassis, is going to be Mike Brewer. So across the line, the top 5 are going to get the bonus points. That goes Brewer, Lapp, Higbee, Dylan Smith, and Nicholas Molly. Sorry. Somebody can correct me in the chat about the naming of that one. And that's the final heat race. So we move now into our consolation, which is going to be a 10-lap run for 13 drivers. A little bit of quick math. We had 28 start. We had 3 heat races. To get down to 13, we would have had to take 15 out, right? Yeah. 28 minus 13 is 15. So it was only the top 5 from each heat race, which means everybody else now comes through the consolation to get the final couple spots. We're going to send 4 home from this one, Jonathan.
Yeah, and you know what? If you're a guy like Dominic Roselli who didn't have his heat go the way that he wanted to, maybe this is the redemption arc that you need to get back in this one and maybe do some damage. You never know. Starting towards the back, I feel like maybe starting towards the back might give you the time to be patient and work your way through and maybe survive some of the opening race carnage that maybe I'm not necessarily expecting, but there's always a chance of it on the first week.
Yep, always a chance, and especially for wanting to get in to the first race. So you do not want to show up to the first race and have to go home early. That is not what anybody here was interested in. Unfortunately, it looks like the guy who was slated to start on the pole, Richard Ritchie, actually did not make the call. And unless we see him roll out of the pits at a later point, he will be one of those 4 who will not make the call. Tough break. Not sure what happened there to the 406 car. But that's going to move the entire inside line up a row each. So that's going to put Dean Reynolds on the pole in car number 79. To his outside is going to be Michael Vitale in the 213. Robbie Worth starts in the 3rd spot. Jesse Hedges is going to go 5th. Then you've got Austin Smith in the car scored as the 14, but it is actually the 3. And I recognize that car. Jonathan might be able to tell you who owns that car and whatnot. Unfortunately, I don't have the background to do that myself, but he's on the inside of Jeff Sharp. Then you've got Matt DeRitter, Mikey Horton, Dominic Roselli, Matt Smith, Edward Owens, and then Cody Harris for the 12 drivers who are out on the track to start the consolation tonight.
Who will make it into the show? Joe, I feel like I'm pretty confident about some of the drivers at the front of the field being able to hang on to their track position, but I am sweating bullets for a guy like Dominic Roselli right there. I'm sweating bullets for a guy like Matt DeRitter towards the back of the field. Who's making it 10 laps to decide who's going home tonight on opening week for the Southern Tier Elite Series?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And knowing Dean Reynolds, I'm feeling, as long as he doesn't get into anything too squirrely, going from the pole is a good starting place, and I think he should be able to hold on, guys like him and Michael Vitale. But yeah, at the back of the pack, the last 3 cars that come across the finish line at the end of these 10 laps are the 3 that are going to go home. And right now, Dominic Roselli, Cody Harris, and Edward Owens are that trio. It looks like Roselli's getting up in there a little bit. That battle right there is Matt Smith is the car he passes in the 31 machine. Yeah, we got a nice little battle right in the midst of this for that final transfer area. And right now you see that 31 car, blue and white with the red number 31. That, alongside Harris and Edward Owens, is where you're looking at the cars going home.
High battle. Trying to from that battle and avoid trouble and avoid going home here tonight. And he is a guy that we see regularly racing and finishing inside the top 5, Joe. So a little bit of drama on our opening night for a guy that we thought was going to be pretty strong throughout the entire season here. But at the front of the field, everything pretty status quo. You can see it's single file amongst, the front 5, 6, 7 cars maybe?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. And the one really guy that was making that look, although now Jesse Hedges gives a shot at the race lead, doesn't quite go there. The one guy is Matt DeRitter, who moved himself way out of contention for falling out of transfers early on in this consolation. As we just pass halfway, he's got himself into the top 5. He's looking at Jeff Sharp, trying to see if he can get around that 28 car. Jesse Hedges still trying to send in sliders on Vitale at the front. But, yeah, he's gotten himself out of harm's way, as has Jeff Sharp. And then you look backwards. Dominic Roselli got himself out of the positions that he would risk it. But, yeah, I mean, not the start to the season at all we would have expected out of that car. And then there's some of these other names that we just don't know necessarily if they're guys that would surprise us maybe moving forward in the next couple races. Are we surprised that Edward Owens and Matt Smith are back there? We don't really know. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But 2 laps to go, lap and a half to go. Up at the front, Jesse Hedges and Michael Vitale trying to make it interesting for us.
Yeah, putting on a show at the front, which we're always happy to see. Whoa, big slider there. Hang on. You don't want to do too much of that.
Oh, look out.
You don't want to get yourself in trouble. We definitely have a couple of guys who are absolutely sending it and risking it for the biscuit, Joe. You don't really need to be doing that on the last lap, but hey, I guess a win is a win. And whoa, hang on to it. Big slider thrown there.
Oh, that was dicey for being at the front of a consolation. I know that the track position is important, but man, that was a lot.
Yeah, Vitale hangs on though there. That got awfully harrowing a couple of times there throughout that consolation race at the front. I really thought they were going to wad him up on the last lap. And can you imagine that? Some guy who was running thinking he's out of it, and then they all wad up in front of you, and you can somehow get through it. I did look up, Joe, going back to last year. I have some of our results from Volusia last year, and we have some familiar faces, familiar names that were strong runners at Volusia. Let's see if you can guess. In the series tonight, we have the first place driver from last year at Volusia. Do you remember who got it done?
It was Higbee, wasn't it?
It was not Higbee last year.
Wait, was it Anthony Roselli?
It was.
Oh my goodness! Well, I have my second guess. I got it.
All right. What about who finished second last year to Roselli at Volusia?
Oh man, they're in tonight.
They're in tonight. We've talked about him pretty heavily already tonight, actually.
It was Brewer.
Maybe not heavily, but yes, it was
Yeah,
Brewer.
it was Brewer. Yes, I remember that one because that was my first race that I broadcasted with Brewer in it, and I mean, I was definitely right to expect great things out of him past that point. But man, I feel good about myself right now, Jonathan.
All right, fine. Well, let's look at the back half of the top 10 finishers from our season last year with the Murder Graphics iRacing series. Who finished 6th at Volusia last year?
Who finished 6th?
He was in the Consi.
Wasn't it? Didn't Dominic Roselli? Was it Dominic?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was because didn't he run at the front and then have something happen and he fell back and had to claw back up into 6th, or did he claw his way up throughout the entirety of? I forget if he clawed his way up slowly over the course of the feature last year, or if he was up front and then fell back, because he did that admittedly a few times last season. He had a couple times where he'd be like leading and then something would happen and he'd crash or something. But
I believe it was he got himself in trouble early and then had to drive back through the field, if I'm not mistaken. But that could have been another race because, like you said, D Rose always made it interesting for us.
Yeah.
And you know what? He did beat Cody Higbee, who finished 7th here last year in our series, and our boy Matt DeRitter ended up finishing 9th.
This isn't necessarily like the best track for him in the past, but not a terrible one either. Like
No.
Yeah, it's kind of middle of the road track for Matt from what I remember. Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you for the history rundown. I will be looking forward to we're going to have to keep doing that as we go through these races this season, like what was these drivers from the past and everything. I'd love the refresher on the memory. That's great stuff. Thank you, Jonathan.
I'm just happy that the Google Docs did not get erased, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, I wouldn't do that. No, absolutely not. Before we run into it, we did a little warm-up session here. We gave 5 minutes to the drivers. It looks like they've called them off for the 2-minute warning for the warm-up session to end. Isaac Salas fastest in this session. And before we jump over into the feature race tonight, we want to take a second and shout out the sponsors and partners of BRPTV as well as this series for getting us out onto the racetrack. We want to thank Cacti Fabrication. They are the presenting sponsor of this season. We are fighting, or the drivers, we should say, are fighting for the Cacti Cup at the end of these 10 races. So thank you to Cacti Fab for jumping on board with the Southern Tier Elite Series. We've got BRP TV as well. That's us. HigFab Chassis, the presenting sponsor of the Heat Races. You've got Precision Engine Service. You've got Savage House Performance, Vertex Graphics, and then aside of that from the BRP TV side as well, you've got Murder Graphics, MDR Designs, the Inkfill Company, Creative Turnings, 47 Technology, and the Southern Ontario Dirt Show, bringing the show to you from both ends. Big time, I guess you could call it, for us and the Southern Tier Elite Series to be partnered up and ready to go for these 10 races. And Jonathan, just a pleasure to have everybody back out with us. And here on YouTube, it looks like we've got some Matthew Schultz fans, and we've got some rooting for Mike Brewer. Not a ton of representation all around. I think, Jonathan, what do we got to do to get more people out here putting comments down there to support their drivers, you think?
I don't know. I think I don't know how many people are maybe new to watching iRacing, but you know, they talk about in like real race cars, stickers at horsepower, things like that. But I've heard through the grapevine that comments on social media posts and YouTube videos and chats in support of a driver make them go faster. That's just what I've heard, Joe. I don't have any hard concrete evidence of that. It's just what I've heard. So
hey, I have no reason to not believe you. So I absolutely agree. Hey, we got another Isaac Salas. Hey, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going as we go through this season. We want to see you guys engaging in the chat of these broadcasts and supporting your drivers. It does our hearts some good, and I'm sure the drivers are going to love going back and seeing that themselves as well as they watch the replay back after the show. The show's ready. It's go time. We got 50 laps. Jonathan, I'm going to run us real quick through the starting lineup here and through the invert that happened here. So for the 50-lap races of this season, there's an 8-car invert applied to the drivers coming out of their heat races, and that's putting Anthony Perigo on the pole. So the 44 car will go from the inside of row number 1 with Brendan Finley in the J7 to his outside. Then you've got Hunter Lapp and Anthony Vitale in row number 2. Anthony Roselli and Mike Brewer will go from row number 3. So the 1-2 from the last time that Jonathan and I broadcasted here will be 5th and 6th. Not too bad for them. Gary Edwards and Isaac Salas, 2 of your heat race winners, will go from row number 4. Then you got Cody Higbee and Brian Lawson rounding out the top 10. Scott Rayom starts 11th. Dylan Smith starts 12th. 13th for Bo Kerbo. Matthew Schultz in 14th. Nicholas Mall in 15th. Michael Vitale 16th. 17th is Dean Reynolds. 18th is Jesse Hedges. Jeff Sharp goes 19th. Matt DeRitter 20th. Mikey Horton in 21st. Dominic Roselli all the way back in 22nd at the start of this one. Robbie Worth in 23rd. And Austin Smith will be the final driver to line up and go for 50 laps around Volusia Speedway Park. The Croc Nationals are going to be getting set after this final formation lap. Jonathan, your thoughts on seeing the 44 car and the J7 from the front row?
I think putting Anthony Borrego on pole is going to be... Had himself a pretty decent little season on the Super Dirt Car Series Tour, of course, in the real world, but here in the iRacing world, I don't know too much about his results, but I would expect him to be one of the guys that we're going to be watching all season long, and putting him on pole for the first race. Good luck, everybody, but hey, there's some heavy hitters that know their way around the iRacing world lined up behind him, and it's a very full field as well, Joe. We'll see how that impacts things. As the flag goes up, pedals are down, away we go from Volusia in the Southern Tier Elite Series.
And a big start for Borrego. There are Perregos in Pennsylvania, so Borrego goes from the front, and he's got a pretty big lead out of turn number 4 here. First lap's going to be completed, and Hunter Lapp kind of scared me a little bit from the start there in the 60 car. You saw him get out of line right as they passed the entrance of the pit lane, and this sort of slew all around them as we settle into position, has him, unfortunately, it looks like going backwards a little bit into some contact with Mike Brewer there. Anthony Roselli's going to capitalize on the inside.
Roselli trying to make things move on the inside of that 7. Looks like, it kind of feels like the inside line is maybe its best as looked all night long, which is probably to be expected, Joe. But I think we're going to see a big change here the longer this thing goes. One of these lanes is going to eventually become the dominant lane that you're going to want to be in. But right now, looks like either top side, bottom side, you're going to be able to move and maybe make some moves.
Yeah, it's looking racy right now. You got Lapp there on the outside of Isaac Salas. Salas, one of the fastest cars we've seen in multiple sessions throughout the night. He's kind of marred in traffic now, maybe the great equalizer. And I think iRacing might be the great equalizer for the rest of the field around Borrego, being a very successful and well-known driver in modified racing, although I don't know how much of an equalizer because he's got a couple car lengths lead over Brendan Finley in second and Anthony Vitale in the inside there on the 1X car running in third place right here. Anthony Roselli, the two Anthonys running third and fourth, starting to come a little bit closer together here, Jonathan.
Yeah, it really is kind of tightening up from second on back, but it doesn't seem like they're making a ton of ground up on the leader, and that is the advantage of clean racetrack. The one thing I'll note, though, Joe, is that if we can get some long green flag runs throughout the season, with us starting 24 cars, this is going to be a prime opportunity for lap traffic to be a heavy factor in some of these finishes, especially, like I say, if we can get some longer green flag runs, as you see kind of every bottom side, top side. Dean Reynolds there trying to make some moves and find his way forward after being up front in the consolation race. And you can see lots of dust starting to come up as well. And that's a good sign that this track is wearing in.
Yeah, it's definitely wearing in a lot right now. It's kind of, you can actually see it almost, we miss like a frame or two once in a while because there's so much dynamic stuff happening with iRacing in the graphics sense that it's trying to keep up with 24 cars putting up this much dust, and it is very dusty indeed. I'm actually thinking, why don't we try out, I'm going to hit Bo Kerbo for an onboard here, and let's see what it looks like as best as we can from his perspective. It's definitely going to make it hard. I don't think it's doing justice, Jonathan, here, what we're seeing compared to what Bo has to do to react to Michael Vitale and Brian Larson in front of him, as actually I just say it, and the yellow flag is going to come out. And I think I have to wait and see if we can figure out who this is. It's going to be, I believe it's not. It is not. Right now, you can see timing and scoring trying to catch up to what happened. I don't think it's Austin Smith. It actually, you know what? We figured it out. It was Matt DeRitter. All right.
Oh, our boy.
Tough start to things. I'm going to hit the button here and bring the replay back for us so that we can take a look at what happened to Matt. That's post yellow here, and let's see as he comes down the backstretch. Maybe not the best camera angle, but I just want to make sure what the deal is if that's what the yellow came out for. And I'm tempted to say I don't think so, because this is definitely past the point where we're all slow. So let's...
I think it must have happened maybe turn 1 or 2, because it kind of looks like, based on how spaced out they are, and I don't think DeRitter was that far towards the back when this happened. I thought I saw, yeah, there's a wheel bouncing there somewhere.
But it is DeRitter. It is DeRitter. And it's his inside
I almost
tire.
wonder if...
Let's go back a little
Do you think he clipped... Do you think he clipped the inside wall here coming out of 4?
Here, let's find it.
Right there. Yes.
You win the prize, Jonathan. Wow.
The good old game of what happened in the iRacing race.
Oh, you figured it out? Yeah, you're right. Just DeRitter so bunched up on the inside of the racetrack that he clipped the inside there. He actually clipped Jeff Sharp coming off of that as well. And when he clipped the inside, unfortunately, just a little bit too much mustard on it. And DeRitter's going to have to go get a reset and put another tire back on it. They do so and bring it back to green flag racing. That was a nice little start to the season and this race of having about 11 laps of green flag racing. And now DeRitter's marred in the back, unfortunately, for the rest of these laps.
Yes, tough break for DeRitter, but I am tempted to say I don't think that's the only time we are going to see that happen tonight. Volusia, that 4th turn wall, it jumps out at you really quickly, especially if you are following tight to somebody's inside right through 3 and 4. It's very easy to make the mistake that Matt just made, and I don't think it'll be the only time we see it. And it might not be the only caution we see, because here we go. It's Mike. I think that's Mike Vitale that went around first.
Yep. Anthony Vitale and Mike Brewer there.
Excuse me, it was Anthony.
Yep.
Mike Brewer's in the 39. Tough break for one of our strong runners in the previous results at Volusia.
Yeah, and that's some suspension damage there, so he's going to have to take that car into the work area and get that fixed up. I'm anticipating we're, probably going to see the same for the 1X team. Let's get the replay back up and try to hit this from a good camera angle to see the whole way through here, as coming back to the green is what you see on your screen. And then let's jump to the TV1. So we're going to catch up to this, but keep in mind how far up in the grid we are. I mean, we're inside the sort of middle area, the top 5, top 10 here, actually 6th and 7th, 6, 7, into the corner, and Brewer just up to just a little too quick in there and taps the rear of the 1X car. And then there's a little bit for Scott Rayom. The 24 car come in. Dean Reynolds comes in the 79, and then 33 there. Jesse Hedges, the 3J, and just a couple bouncing into this sort of on the ending side of it. And there's some damaged race cars all around, even though nobody really took that intense of a hit there, Jonathan.
No, just a little bit of cosmetic stuff, but I think the suspension was broken on, I believe, the 39 car. That was pretty heavy. Maybe Hedges looks like he may have gotten a big piece of it as well. But, yeah, you know what? When they're wrecking from inside the top 10, there is not a lot of room to run away and hide. And I think that's what you're going to see a lot in these races, Joe, is that when we have incidents, if they are towards the front, even the middle pack, it is going to be very hard to get away unscathed if you're running behind it.
Yeah, definitely. It's too bunched up, and the track's too slick to really be able to react quickly. So absolutely agreed. You got to be careful with that. And that's part of the reason why you desperately want to be up at the front of the field, which Perego, Finley, Anthony Roselli, they don't have to worry about at this moment in time, unless we hit the lap traffic that Jonathan was talking about earlier. But nonetheless, this should equalize it a little bit. Back to green flag racing, lap 15 of 50 is where we're at, and it's Perego out front pretty easily. Roselli trying to make a battle of the 2 7s for second place right now.
Yeah, the 7s are dueling it out, and here comes Isaac Salas as well. Salas, you know, I think probably was a beneficiary of that caution, was running right around where that incident happened and picked up a few spots and now finds himself up inside the top 5 with a very fast race car. And we've seen a lot of performance out of that machine so far, and he's up to P3.
Yep, and here's another driver that we haven't talked about yet in this race, but he's also ticking his way up to the front. The 97 of Cody Higbee. Who else? I believe 2 years ago he won the BRP iRacing Series race here. He's slowly gotten himself into contention. If there's anything Cody Higbee is good at, well, there's a lot of things that he's good at, but one of those things is getting himself further up into the field as you go, and the yellow flag comes out, and it's going to be Mikey Horton and Jeff Sharp causing this one. That's pretty easy for us to see here based off of their speed, and we are back under yellow for the third time. We'll pull a replay and see what happened between the number 28 and the number 12. Let me get this backwards.
I can confirm, Joe, you were correct. It was 2 years ago that Cody Higbee picked up a win in our 23-24 season.
That's insane. It's like I'm good at that. It's like I was there. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Boy. Well, Jonathan, I'll let you kind of walk through this. So we're going into turn 3. This is going to transpire on the front stretch, but I'm sure we're going to see a little bit of it in turn 4.
Yeah, setting up with a 3-wide battle here, and it looks like the 12 car is going to want to maybe try to throw the slider here. Looks pretty good, Matt.
Oh.
Matt's going to throw the slider. Oh, there it is. It's DeRitter with the hip check up the racetrack. Hits the 12. That takes out Sharp in the 28. And we've got cars spinning and a few more get a little piece of the damage. But yeah, that started with, we talked about Matt DeRitter hitting that inside wall, Joe. I almost wonder if he got a little gun shy running on the bottom there and was like, I'm just going to slide up here and maybe keep some space away from that inside. And sure enough, well, kept too much space.
Maybe a little bit too much. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. It just came up the racetrack, and unfortunately there was a car out there. I mean, if you don't run with the mirrors, which I know with the Murder Graphics series they didn't let you, I wouldn't anticipate any different for these guys here, so it's just hard for Matt to know there are cars up there. But at the same time, I mean, unfortunately, it's racing, but Matt came up, and that's the tough break especially for Horton and Jeff Sharp, because they got a little bit of damage. They have to go to the rear of the field, and yeah, we're just bringing it back, and they're going to have to see if they can muster something up and get back moving up towards the front end of the field. Not quite as far as Perego, though, as Perego brings us back to green.
Perego is on it, man. The pace truck wasn't even off yet, and he said, all right, it's time to go. And thankfully, you cannot hit the pace car. At least didn't in that situation anyways.
Yeah, he did not. As coming back to the stripe again here, Salas goes to the inside, and you've got Brendan Finley in the J7 running in second place. I like that car. That is a really sharp-looking race car for me. I like flames on race cars. Perego up front, Salas there in third, riding behind the J7, and then you've got a little battle between Gary Edwards and Anthony Roselli, kind of making itself even out here as they come past the stripe. 20 laps into this race, and inside the top 5. Gary Edwards, very strong car. We're going to watch to see what that 21 can do as we progress. Cody Higbee in 6th place. Dylan Smith in 7th. And coming back again, everybody seems to be moving kind of bottom side up. So everybody's kind of entering bottom middle in turn 1, moving up the racetrack in turn number 2, then down back to the bottom again in 3, and diamonding through 3, up to the outside for 4. Interesting run around this racetrack right now, Jonathan. It's getting worked in plenty, you can tell by the dust, but definitely a non-conventional maybe, or maybe it is conventional way around this racetrack.
It's definitely interesting to see the way that guys are trying to make passes. It sure looks like there's a lot of drivers who are willing to throw it in, right? There's a lot of guys who are willing to make the dive to the inside, but it's like as soon as you hit that apex of the corner, the car just tightens up and it just wants to go straight rather than being able to complete that. So you really have to jump out. You got to use those brakes. You got to be able to get the car rotated underneath somebody, and by the time you do all that, they're blowing back on the inside. So it's tough to pass anywhere right now, but it's not like the outside lane is drastically faster either, Joe. It's not like guys are moving forward just by using the top side of the racetrack. So I'm almost wondering if maybe they're going to start pushing that cushion further and further up the corners, and maybe you can get some speed and get the car hooked up on the extreme outside. But you're going to have to find something, as Anthony Perego is giddy gone on a Sunday night here in the Southern Tier Elite Series.
Giddy gone. I like that. Sunday night it is. Yeah. We're just past halfway in the Croc Nationals. Perego has led every single lap. I think Brendan Finley has been in second the whole way through this. Isaac Salas in third place. He's had to push himself back up in there even after being the fastest qualifier and winning a heat race. Salas in the 5 there. You see him on the inside in the white with blue. And then you've got Finley in the black car on his outside. Gary Edwards the third with the green number 21 on the side. And Anthony Roselli in the white 7 car with the shiny purple on it. We love some purple in our racing. Cody Higbee brings back the old black and blue car that he ran when I first started broadcasting with this series years and years ago. And then he's gone through some iterations of the white with the gray and the white with the blue and red on it, but now back to, I guess, old reliable.
Yeah, definitely back to old reliable, looking strong, looking pretty racy right now. At the front of the field, still Perego is the one to beat, just kind of cruising right now. But the battle is great for second on back. It's just a matter of, can one of them get clear of the rest and really start to string some laps together and run down Perego, who at this point, I don't know how much further he's got until he catches some lap traffic, but if we can keep it clean and green, I think they'll be at the tail end of the field here relatively quick as things start to get single filed out amongst the front runners here. Finally started to settle into a single file order. A little bit anyways. Silas is going to drop a spot. 21 moving forward. Edwards in that Interstate Batteries 21 ride looking pretty stout.
Yeah, he's looking stout. He did the exact thing that you mentioned, Jonathan. He went to the extreme outside and found a little extra grip. That's how he got around the 5 car, put himself into the podium spot. So we'll have to see if Gary Edwards can maybe do it again, get around Finley. Finley's actually doing it himself now to try to defend, so it looks like the J7 searching around to try to find something. The question, Jonathan...
Yeah, trying to find a little bit of moisture, like anything that's left in this thing, because they have buzzed this racetrack, especially all through the middle, Joe. You can see how dry it is, and anytime they start to slide up through the middle grooves here, but there's still a little bit of moisture up on that extreme side.
The question, Jonathan, I guess if we, say, have another yellow, or if they can get around, which it looks like Gary Edwards is about to do, actually, the 21 car moves into second place, at least temporarily, until yeah, he goes to the outside, and Finley's going to get a run. The question is, how do you catch up to Perego? I mean, you've got to get in front of this whole scrum, and then you've got to figure out a way to get up to the 44. Is it just relying on a caution, or like how do you get the opportunity to go that extra step if you're Isaac Salas or Cody Higbee?
I think if you can get out in front of this pack of cars, as Edwards tries to do, he keeps trying to throw that slider and he can't get it done. That's going to open the door for Silas now. Silas is going to have the run down in, and he will wash up the racetrack, and he'll have to get out of it, and that's going to cost him 2 or 3 more spots here. But now that you see Finley kind of unchallenged, I almost wonder if Finley can get things hooked up. I say that, here comes Edwards with a run. If one of them can just get out and clear ahead, if you can maybe get to the top side of that racetrack and really rip it around where there's some moisture, you might be able to at least put together a few laps and see that margin start to dive down. But the problem is when you're constantly having to play defense because you've got somebody underneath you trying to throw a slider or trying to find a way by you, it makes you change your racing line ever so slightly, and then all of a sudden you're not on offense, you're on defense, and you're looking out the rock screen and watching these guys just drive further and further away.
Yeah, but here's my thing, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Jonathan, but I'm tempted to think Finley might have used up his tires a little bit more than the guys behind him. It just, to me, the way this is going right now appears to be that the J7 is I'm going to say it straight, the slow car of these 5. But with that track position advantage, he's able to stay in second. But I was just wondering, because they are staying so close to his rear bumper, I'm wondering if they'd actually be able to get away from him if they got in front. The problem is that Brennan's just doing such a great job of running the track and defending from them that they can't.
Yeah, and you know what? No one's been able to make that clean move that really gives them separation. Edwards was close. He's probably been the closest, as we'll see him take another run at trying to get by Finley. Much better that time, but I think Finley's stuff finally has gone away to the point where he might be out of it now. I say that, here comes Finley back to the middle group. You know what? If this was for the race lead, this would be some wild stuff. And you know what? Even for second place, I got to say it's a pretty fairly entertaining show from second on back in this first event of the Southern Tier Elite Series, Joe. This is as good a racing as we could hope for with 7 laps to go.
Absolutely agreed. And I did see them all kind of leaning on the berm on the outside of the racetrack. They're leaning on that cushion, and that was what Finley was using to stay in front of everybody. And Gary Edwards got in front of him, and he knew he had to go up there quickly. But I guess they kind of proved me wrong here, Jonathan, because there's no separation really starting with that J7 car now that Gary's into second place. Parego's absolutely just in his own zip code, but I absolutely agree. If you wanted to start off a season with something exciting to show, you've got good drivers, you've got a good series, and you've got something worth watching, these 5 guys are doing a hell of a good job to start us off.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing, I guess with the size of Volusia, you know, we probably didn't have quite long enough of a run for them to get towards the back of the field. I can see some lap traffic starting to form in the, you know, very front of Perego here, but with 4 laps to go, it's not going to be a factor. Anthony Perego is going to run away and just take this one in dominant fashion. I mean, there's not much you can say about his performance here, as long as they can keep it clean and green and we don't get something weird happen this final few laps, Joe. What a start for Anthony.
Yeah, I wanted to say there, Jonathan, don't jinx it just yet. There are still 2 laps to go at the stripe for this field, and Gary Edwards a little bit of separation for himself in second place. Salas, Higbee, Finley, and Anthony Roselli here in the midst of making third place a good battle as they're going to come to the stripe and get the white flag. We're going to see the 1 to go presented by Precision Engine Service for Anthony Perego. There he goes past the line. And through turns 1 and 2, we're going to jump back to watch this battle quickly, and then we will jump back again to Perego as he comes to the checkers. But a hell of a good battle between these 4, and we're jumping back up to the leader.
And here comes the 44 in for the win. Anthony Perego will get it done on the opening night of the Southern Tier Elite Series, winning at Volusia ahead of Edwards, and Finley hangs on for the final spot inside the top 3. Good stuff, man. That was great racing. I mean, I know Perego really kind of ran away with it, Joe, but you know, we had kind of a little bit of everything. We saw the track change. We saw some great racing towards the front of the field. We saw some cautions make it interesting in the mid-pack and on back. Not much else we could have asked for that's much better than that.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Perego goes start to finish in the 44 car, but we didn't quite get the lap traffic. We got the track evolution. We got the movement from top to bottom. We got the excellent battle that we saw for second place there amongst those guys like Gary Edwards. We're going to get to talk to the top 3 here and talk to them about that great battle. We will start, as we're giving them just a second to kind of take the load off and get ready, get them into the chat for us to bring in, and then we will interview our top 3. I want to start with Perego, but I don't see him around here. I don't know if you do, Jonathan, or if we're going to wait on him. Maybe we start from third. What do you think?
Yeah, we can grab Finley if he's ready here. We may as well grab and get him in, and we'll start that option.
Sure. All right. Do you want to take third and first, or do you want to? We kind of have our conventional back and forth here. You want to go, or you want me to take?
Yeah, sure. I'll take Finley first.
All right. I'm going to bring him in, and Mike's on you. Mike's on him as well.
Brendan Finley, it's Jonathan up in the booth. You got a copy, brother.
Yeah, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Congratulations on the podium effort here. And, man, it kind of seemed like the last half of that race, everybody was trying to take runs at you. You had the target on your back trying to defend second, which is where you started. That was the highest you ran all race. Talk to us about that hard-fought battle inside the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, number one, I had no idea where to run the entire race. Kind of found the middle through like the middle portion of the race. I was catching Perego, and then we had the yellow, and got no idea what happened after that. I was just kind of like searching around, trying to throw a slider line, trying to go to the top, go to the bottom. Couldn't really stay down on the bottom. And yeah, no, long story short, I was trying to stay out of Gary's way because he was kind of breathing all over me for the last 20 laps there. And,
What did you need to be able to go up and run against Perego, though? From that second, it kind of seemed like because you guys were throwing all the sliders, nobody really got the opportunity to lay some laps down and chase down Anthony.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I kind of thought I might have found something in the middle, and then he started running the middle, and I kind of started searching again, and he just kind of walked away. I don't know where I was kind of hoping we'd get into some lap traffic or something to help us all out, but he definitely deserved that one.
It was a bit of a confusing one. I mean, it was entertaining as hell, though, I gotta say. And congratulations to yourself. Congratulations to all you guys who were running up there. And, you end up securing a podium spot. A great start to the season. Who you got the effort?
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, there's Brendan Finley with the third place effort. Joe, I think we've got Gary Edwards standing by, so you can get Gary up in here.
Yep, give me 1 second here, and we're going to bring Gary Edwards into the booth. Gary, you got Joe Donahue up in the booth. You got a copy with us?
Yes, sir.
All right, Gary, welcome into the booth for the first time with us. You got interstate batteries on the side, and I'm curious if you cheated a little bit by using that to your advantage because the car looked electric tonight. Talk to me about your run-through of Volusia and getting used to this series in the first running.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I kept my nose clean the first 20 or so laps, and then it slicked off. I got faster, and we're just trying to weave past the cars in front of me. And once I got to second past Brendan, I was slowly catching Perego, but he was just too far gone.
Yeah, talk to me about that pass into second on Finley, and talk to me about that race for second place that you were a part of. You had a core of 5 drivers, making it extremely interesting for us watching. Talk about your perspective of that.
Yeah, I believe it was me, Brendan, Isaac, Cody, and Anthony, and it got pretty dicey there. It was fun, and I'm glad I could have got up to second after starting 7th.
It was very exciting to watch for us as well. And tell me about your perspective coming into this night. Is Volusia a good track for you? Is this sort of a track you had coming in, you were challenged? Like, where are you at compared to what you expected out of your evening in this 50-lap race?
Before this 50 laps, it wasn't one of my best tracks. I did decent, but I didn't think I'd do this good here. Port Royal next week's definitely is on my top of the list for the year, so that should be fun, and looking forward to next week and the rest of the season.
Well, that's what we like to hear. I'm sure the rest of the field is not going to be thrilled to hear that out of the second-place driver, to say that the next race is the one he's got circled. But, Gary, congratulations on the second-place run. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out on the broadcast for what it took to put this number 21 car in second place tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to thank Anthony Roselli and all the admins putting this on, keeping it organized, clean, and just fun to race on a Sunday night.
That's what I like to hear. Thank you very much for coming out, Gary. We'll be looking forward to and excited to see what you can provide for us at Port Royal next time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome stuff. And, Jonathan, that is second place, and we can now move to our race winner. It looks like Anthony Perego is in the booth and waiting for you. I'll bring him down.
All right, tonight's winner, Anthony, you got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, well, it was about as smooth as you could possibly ask for of a race for yourself. Talk to us about starting up front and basically staying there all night.
Yeah, I guess I got a little bit lucky there. Hit the invert just right and started on the pole. And, I haven't played this game in about a year and a half, and just kept it as straight as I could and played up.
And a lot of people that we've talked to and a lot of what we saw from the race tonight was that people were searching around trying to find something that could, I don't know, maybe get them towards the front. But you seem to have it figured out. So what did you feel from the racetrack, and what did it give you that made you so fast tonight?
Yeah, I feel like the blacker the tracks get here on iRacing, the better I am. When the tracks are heavy, I'm not that great. That showed there in qualifying, but we'll keep working on it, and glad to be in this league. It was a fun night.
Well, thanks for coming out and racing with us after yourself having a very busy racing season that's just wrapped up in the last couple weeks. We're loving having you in the virtual world, and thanks for joining us, and congratulations on the first week. Who you got to thank for the effort?
Yeah, I guess I just gotta thank myself for keeping it calm and collected the whole race, and we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. There he is. Anthony Borrego gets the win opening week. And I will say, Joe, they always say green is unlucky on race cars, but top two tonight both have green numbers on their car.
Insane comment. I was thinking the exact same thing. I was sitting here like, green's not good. Green's bad luck on a race car, but nope. Same thing. Yet you're right. I was surprised by that as well. That's crazy. I have to just think myself. I liked that a lot. That's confidence right there. You need confidence like that. You need confidence
like
like that.
Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
Talladega Nights with the me car, the Cougar.
Well, hey, you need confidence like that, especially when you take on a track like Volusia and you do it as the track progresses like that. The mental part of it is a huge part. Maybe even a higher percentage when you're in the virtual world. The mentality that you take into the race really is going to define what comes out of that race itself. I at least think, Jonathan, maybe you could speak on that too.
Yeah, I think confidence is everything, and luck is a big part of it too, right? Anthony touched on it. He caught the invert in just the right way that he was able to get that track position, and I almost wonder if we're going to see going forward, do these drivers, I guess, do they use that invert or do they keep that in mind with where they're running in whatever heat and how things fall? Obviously, you can't totally control that. You can't shoot for that. But I would think that these guys are going to be at least conscious of that invert and maybe can they position themselves, maybe let up at the line. Maybe, I don't know. There could be some games played to make sure that they stare towards the front of the field.
Yeah. It'll be exciting to see. And we are set up for a good 9 more races. If they're all like this, you're going to want to subscribe to BRP TV and hit the icon to get the notifications because these are not going to be races you're going to want to miss. I'm going to pull up the unofficial results, although at this point fairly official, for the Croc Nationals, the 50-lap feature to start off the Southern Tier Elite Series season, going after the Cacti Cup. Anthony Borrego goes for the number 1 spot, started on the pole, led the whole way through. He will win over Gary Edwards and Brendan Finley. We saw them on the top podium steps and talked to them as well. You've got Cody Higbee in 4th place. Not surprising to see him up at the front end for us. Isaac Salas, one of, if not the fastest car throughout most of the evening. Number 5 ends up 5th. Anthony Roselli in 6th place here. He won the last time we broadcasted from this track. Not too shabby from 6th. Dylan Smith in 7th. Dirt Car Dean Reynolds fights his way up into 8th. Dominic Roselli went from 22nd to 9th tonight. I can't do the math exactly right off rip, but I'm pretty sure that's going to get him the Hard Charger Award tonight. Nicholas Mull will round out your top 10. Looking back to 11th, you see Hunter Lapp, Scott Rayom, Michael Vitale, Matt DeRitter. DeRitter actually turned it around pretty good too tonight, even though he was involved in 2 accidents. Bo Kerbo, Brian Lawson, Jeff Sharp, Matthew Schultz, Mike Brewer, Anthony Vitale brings up the 20th position, and then you go back to 21st is Mikey Horton, Jesse Hedges in 22nd, Austin Smith in 23rd. Robbie Worth will round us out. But, Jonathan, as you can see from the difference in interval, we finished all 24 cars, and we finished them all on the same lap. That's pretty impressive.
It really is impressive. I got to say, I am impressed. I am also, you know what? That makes me excited. That makes me feel like we didn't see lap traffic because we have 24, and what could have been a rotation of any 28 drivers who are all very strong with pace and who could at least keep up and keep it clean, right? That's the biggest thing I think we like in a broadcast is we like when the races have some free-flowing kind of clean momentum. We saw it get a little jumbled there from laps like 10 to 20, 22 or so, but ultimately this was a race that felt like a proper race and felt like a race that we all can be proud of, and that I think all these drivers should be proud of their efforts tonight, Joe. What is coming down the pipeline, I'm not sure, but I feel like we set the tone week one with one heck of a show for the Southern Tier Elite Series.
Yes, I completely agree. And coming into this season, there's always the question marks of what are you expecting, who's going to be there, what kind of racing are you going to see. We've seen with the BRP iRacing series in the past that you have to have a good gel of drivers. Otherwise, you can see people running into each other, not understanding the way that the drivers around them are driving, and not being up to speed, that you're going to see accidents and arguments and whatnot. And Volusia is a track that can cause that kind of thing with the way you drive into the corners, especially when it gets slick. We really didn't see much of that this evening. The Dominic Roselli heat race incident, and then we saw some yellows, but really what I'm gathering out of this is we've got a really strong field, and it seems like they gel well, at least from the first race. So when we look at, especially next week with Port Royal for myself, but even further into Eldora, into Weedsport, into the finale all the way down the road after Charlotte and going to Oswego, we've got some good stuff coming. So you're going to want to be here on BRP TV to support the Southern Tier Elite Series as they go for the Cacti Cup presented by Cacti Fab. But that's going to be the wrap on this evening's broadcast. We want to thank you for being here. Jonathan, any final words on your take of this evening that you don't want to leave on the table?
I guess my big thing is, what will some of the heavy hitters of the iRacing world that we've seen in the past be able to accomplish going forward? And what will this, I guess, series offer us going forward as well? There's so many questions, I think, that I don't have answers to. All I know is that Anthony Perego going to be fast for a guy who did not touch the iRacing world for a year and a half to come out and whip the field like he did there. I'm left with more questions than answers, but I'm intrigued, and I hope everybody out there who's watching is equally intrigued and wondering how this is going to play out, because there are so many drivers that it feels like we didn't really talk about who could have had amazing nights tonight and didn't, or maybe just a little out of the spotlight, so to speak, Joe. So I'm just looking forward to what we're seeing for the next 7 weeks. That's all I'm thinking about is what comes next.
What comes next? Well, we'll probably get to talk to more of those different drivers and spotlight them throughout the next couple races, but 1 week from tonight is Port Royal. That's the focus from here. So for everybody who watched along, thank you for tuning in to BRP TV tonight. Thank you for supporting the Southern Tier Elite Series, and we will see you again in 1 week's time for the showdown at Port Royal. From Joe Donahue, myself, Jonathan Howe alongside me in the booth, Matt DeRitter from BRP TV, Anthony Roselli for putting on the show, all of the partners and sponsors, and all of the rest of the drivers who are a part of this as well. We bid you adieu from us here in Volusia, and we will see you from the virtual Port Royal in 1 week's time. Thank you.